Are you listening?
Welcome to another episode of the Nerf Report. My name is Brian Chappelle, and on this week's episode, Cyberpunk might be coming to the Nintendo Switch, Stadia is about to go free to play, Ubisoft confirms PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X backwards compatibility, and speaking of Xbox, get your draft cards ready, because Xbox has declared war on Google and Amazon. But before we jump into any of that, your top headlines. Google Stadia launched on November 19th of last year, and despite what you may have heard, it's still alive. The service is now 4 months old. Stadia founders have received 8 free games since launch, and yet Stadia's brightest days are yet to come. Because in an interview with tech news site Protocol, Google's Vice President Phil Harrison said, "The big strategic difference is that over the next few months, you will be able to experience Stadia for free, no money down, without having to put a box in your home. You can just click and play amazing games straight from our data centers." And the free-to-play version will cap games resolution to 1080p 60 frames per second and exclude the monthly free games or discounts included for Stadia Pro members. One of the most anticipated games of 2019 was Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding. And if you're like me, you still haven't played it. Mainly because I've heard it requires a ton of walking and, well, judging by this body, you can tell that physical fitness is something I rarely do. But recently, a gamer/YouTuber named Alan Pan transformed a broken down treadmill into a PlayStation 4 DualShock controller. So when you walk in real life on the treadmill, Sam Bridges walks in the game. The hack treadmill utilizes the treadmill's internal technology, along with an Arduino drive, digital potentiometer, and a PlayStation 4 controller to work. Alan has posted the whole video up on his YouTube channel, and like any great scientist, he tested it out on his friends. So go check it out. It's a very cool video and extremely funny, well worth your time. Cyberpunk 2077 is launching for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on September 17th. And this week the question was asked, why no love for the Nintendo Switch? Because despite the obvious answer that your Nintendo arms are just too short to box with God, developer CD Projekt Red John Mamias politely said, "I don't know if Cyberpunk 2077 would work on the Nintendo Switch. It might be too heavy for it. But then, we did put Witcher 3 on it, and we thought that would be too heavy too. But somehow we pulled it off." Pulling off, of course, would be the politically correct term. However, The Witcher 3 on the Nintendo Switch did suffer from certain sacrifices, with the main one being the game running at 720p in dock mode, whereas in handheld mode, the game drops down to 540p. This, of course, pales in comparison with the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, which is rendering at 1080p. So, could we see Cyberpunk running on the Switch? Sure. Do we really want to see it running on the Switch? Probably not. And finally, for your top headlines, the next generation. One of the biggest questions surrounding the next generation of gaming is what is going to happen to my games I already own? Well, for Xbox owners, the platform has already embraced backwards compatibility, so chances are they will not abandon it now that the genie is out of the bottle. But in regards to PlayStation, nobody really knows what's going on. And despite all the leaks and rumors, we finally have some confirmation. But this time, it doesn't come from PlayStation. In fact, it comes from a very unlikely place. During an investor's call, Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot confirmed those consoles will be running almost all the back catalog of the previous consoles. It will be something new in the industry. It will help the old generations to continue to be big consoles on the market for years to come. Now, this would mark the very first official confirmation from one of the industry's major developers. However, PlayStation has hinted that backwards compatibility is a big focus moving into the next generation. Well, that's going to wrap up this week's top headlines, so let's jump into this week's top story with The Rundown.
Now for something completely different, yeah.
Xbox. 2020 has been a wild year so far. Honestly, it seems like we can't go a full week without some massive next-gen console headline taking the internet by storm. For example, outside of gaming, plenty of news is happening. America almost started World War III, a plague is starting to hit China, and Australia is literally on fire. God is pissed, people, but all us gamers seem to care about are GPUs and the backside of the Xbox Series X. But this week, Phil Spencer, the executive vice president of gaming at Microsoft, dropped some massive news himself. When in an interview with Protocol, Spencer said, "When you talk about Nintendo and Sony, we have a ton of respect for them. But we see Amazon and Google as the main competitors going forward." Amazon and Google. Now, in one sense, I get it. Both Nintendo and Sony have surpassed Xbox in sales and, well, player base, so turn your targets elsewhere. It's like when the kid who's been bullied his entire life, has enough, and so he starts to bully the younger kids.
What's wrong, Stadia? Did your mom not pack enough games in your launch lineup? Nice cloud gaming platform, Amazon. Oh wait, you don't have one!
But in all honesty, this is not what Phil Spencer intended to say. No, seriously. He corrects himself in the next statement. Spencer continues by saying, "That's not to disrespect Nintendo and Sony, but the traditional gaming companies are somewhat out of position. I guess they could try to recreate Azure, but we've invested tens of billions of dollars in cloud over the years." Damn! Phil Spencer just did the most humble single dad brag of all time. Oh, this right here? Yeah, baby. $10 billion. Let's see Miyamoto do that. But in all seriousness, Spencer is kind of right here. Nintendo isn't really focused on cloud-based gaming, and, well, Sony does have PlayStation Now. They just haven't shown any sign of making it a primary focus. Whereas companies like Google and Amazon both not only have the infrastructure to launch a cloud-based service, they also have the capital to support it. Phil Spencer continued by saying, "I don't want to be in a fight over format wars with those guys, while Amazon and Google are focusing on how to get gaming to 7 billion people around the world. Ultimately, that's the goal." Because let's face it, at the end of the day, that's the goal. 7 billion gamers around the world. And what better way to accomplish that than making a gaming platform that is accessible to everyone? With services like Google Stadia or Project xCloud, gaming for the first time ever becomes accessible. With Stadia, all you require is an internet connection, and you can game. You are no longer bound to purchasing a $500 console or a $1,000 PC to game. 4K next-gen quality games can now be streamed to your phone. So, in a way, Phil Spencer is 100% right. And finally, for this week, we come to... that noise, of course, signifies that we are running out of time and coming close to the end of the show. So, in order to cover all the week's remaining news, we must initiate a segment that I like to call... Every single week, we have so much news to talk about and so little time to do it. So we take all the week's remaining news, put 60 seconds on the clock, and try to cover it as fast as humanly possible without running out of breath, passing out, or dying! So with that in mind, let's put 60 seconds on the clock for the noise! And... go! The Outer Worlds has officially sold 2 million copies worldwide. Ubisoft has 5 AAA quality games that are launching in 2020. Speaking of 2020, Activision has revealed that we are getting a brand new Call of Duty game this year. Ninja Theory's Bleeding Edge will launch this year with zero, that's right, zero microtransactions. Apex Legends entered their Season 4 of content titled Assimilation this week. Crash Bandicoot looks like he might be getting a mobile game, which I am all on board with that. The Sims officially turned 20 years old this week. Broomstick the League will be launching on PCs on March 5th. It's a Quidditch game. Only reason I'm bringing it up is because I'm a Harry Potter nut. And finally, the Xbox exclusive Below is coming to PlayStation 4 1 year later. Holy smokes, we still have plenty of time. Bonus content, Red Dead Redemption 2 has officially sold 29 million copies since launch. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for Nerfed in 60 seconds, and that is it for this week's episode of the show. If you like what you saw and you want to see more content just like it, hit that subscribe button. While you're down there, hit that like button, and please share it with your friends. As always, my name is Brian Chappelle. You are you, and this has been the Nerf Report. Thanks for watching. Thanks again for checking out the channel. You know, because of viewers like you and the support you show us on all of these social medias, we're able to do cool things like add a second camera. That has been a dream of mine since I started this show. So now I can do cool things like, hi, talk to this camera, or talk to that camera, or talk to both cameras.